Kitchen 56, Chef Doug here. We're cooking from home, another one of our tips and tricks videos. Hey, if you like what you see, somewhere there down below is like and subscribe, and you can get all the updates on our channel. So, today we're talking about ribeye. We're going to break down some steaks here. I got a whole ribeye, and I'm going to show you how to clean a ribeye and break down some steaks yourself at home. So, basically, I like to use a smaller knife when cleaning the ribeye, but we're going to try and remove some of this fat here off the top and some of the silver skin. And so what I like to do is just kind of get down, and you can see that a lot of this you can just kind of pull away with the knife. Now when I'm buying meat, you can buy your steaks at the grocery store, absolutely. I like to get a little thicker cut steak, so I like to cut my own steaks at home, and then I cryovac them and then freeze them and pull them out for whenever I need them. And that's just how I like to do it. I also buy a little bit higher quality of meat. So when I'm purchasing meat, I don't like to buy anything below choice. I like to buy choice or higher. So you have no roll, you have select, you have choice, you have prime, and you know, you want to look for a good marbling when you're purchasing your meat at the grocery store. Now the steak I buy, and this is the same steak I use in the restaurant, it all has specific standards, so the cows are all DNA traced. My whole cuts of meat are already aged for a certain amount of days before they even come to me, so you get a more intensified meaty flavor. Now what I do at this point, so I've trimmed a little bit off here, and you can trim as much as you like, leave what you like, but what I like to do, so I call this the chain. What I like to do is pull that off. There is a little bit of meat in there, but it's mainly, as you can see, there's a tiny bit of meat in there. It's mainly, show you a cross section here, a big chunk of fat. You can actually save that. You can clean that up a little bit. You can render down that fat if you want. You can cook breakfast potatoes in it, or use it in some of your grind if you're making your own hamburger. But when I'm doing my steaks at home, I like to take some of that off. It just causes for some grill flare-ups and just unwanted. Now this is a ribeye, so this is what prime rib comes from. So if you're cooking a whole prime rib at home, I leave that on. I leave all that fat on. I season the whole thing up and roast it how I need to. And that's about it for me. So there's a chunk of fat in here that you want to make sure you don't trim down too much. We want that in there because ribeye is made up of a eye, and then there's a layer of fat, and then there's a little flap on the outside. If you clean this too much, you're going to separate those two and your steaks won't hold together. So that's about it for me for the cleaning process. Now when I'm cutting steaks, what I like to do is use a larger chef knife, and me personally, I like to have a nice thick steak, and this is why I cut them at home. So I do a nice 1-inch cut here, so we got a nice thick steak. The other important thing with this ribeye, now this is a 15-pound ribeye, and my ribeyes are specced out so that they come a certain size. You can buy an 18 or 20-pound ribeye, but what happens is when you try and cut a 12-ounce steak, this is probably 15 ounces, but when you try and cut a steak with a larger ribeye, you're going to get a thinner steak, and I don't really care for that, so I like the smaller ribeyes. And you can just cut them however you want. You can put those in the cryovac machine. Like I said, I cryovac some. I stick them in the freezer. I pull them out when I want to grill steak. This is how I do steak at home. Kitchen 56, Chef Doug. Thank you for watching our video.